And welcome to another edition of Anthony and Ari Unfiltered, a weekly radio show with former Congressman Anthony Esposito and Inspector General, Department of Labor, in conversation with Assemblyman Ari Brown on the hot button issues of the day. Here now are your hosts.
Hey, I'm New York State Assemblyman Ari Brown here with Congressman Anthony Esposito. Anthony and Ari Unfiltered, WNEW 102.7 FM and WSNR 620 AM. Most of the subjects we're going to be talking about kind of interlink, has to do with being a good American and those who are not good Americans. What's doing, Anthony?
I'm great. Had a great week. You know, we're dealing with some crazy weather here on the South Shore. Obviously, the remnants of Hurricane Erin. So had some meetings with the fire departments and local police departments to get things organized and keep people safe. And you know, that's what we do, right? Try to do the right thing and keeping our communities safe and well prepared. But there's so much going on. I mean, we have obviously big elections coming up locally, and you know, I've been traveling the country. Just tomorrow, I'm going out to the West Coast to support one of my former colleagues in Congress. And everywhere I go, it seems that the conversation is what's happening in New York City. Can that lunatic, communist, anti-Semite actually become the mayor of the city of New York?
It's a good question. He's a fellow assembly person, not that I've ever really seen him in the assembly, maybe one or two times, maybe if I look through like a foggy prismatic lens. But if you look on TV, who was joining him? Half of the Democrat colleagues literally stood with him. Those even who say they were moderates stood in the background at all of his press conferences. Shameful, 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 even more shameful. I mean, I'm a yarmulke-wearing Republican, that you can have a Jew that will support someone who's calling for the destruction of the Jewish people. When are the Jewish people going to learn already? Stop it. I don't want to be the only Republican in state elected history. You know, it's only yarmulke-wearing. Guys, it's time to come to this side of the aisle.
Yeah, you know, and what's interesting is you're spot on. But one of the things that I think many forget, I know that we don't, and a lot of our listeners don't, but just last week, I don't know if you tuned in, but our good friend Chris Ruddy, the CEO of Newsmax, he hosted an event in Jerusalem, and he had Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu speak really about the idea of how much the fake news has created this narrative, how much there's so many networks that have not reported correctly about what's happened in Israel and the you know, in Gaza, and the whole narrative that Israel is starving people, and you know, Netanyahu focused on the fact that how important it is to preach the truth when it comes to politics and government. But one of the things that he mentioned, which I think is, and he wasn't talking about Mondami, but he was saying, you know, we all need to remember that these individuals who are calling for the death of Jews and the destruction of Israel are the same people who are calling for the destruction of the United States of America and the dismantling of our democracy. And the idea that we have a guy who could become mayor of the city of New York who clearly doesn't like anything about America, because our founding principles, our fundamental values, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, he's against.
You're right. There's a guy that's supporting the Intifada, said it openly. Call this one of the rallies where people were saying rape was resistance regarding October 7th. You know, I say it all the time, if we would substitute the word Jew for black or Puerto Rican or Spanish or any other group, everybody would be up in arms. Same thing that's happening in our universities. Yeah. If we would bar a black person from entering classrooms, it'd be an uproar. Yeah. But Jews, they can be barred. They have to cower because a mob is going after them, and it's allowed. And it's allowed in New York State legislature. Governor Kathy Hochul has the ability to put an end to this thing, the same way President Trump is sending troops, federal troops, into Washington, D.C. She has somewhat of similar powers to do the same thing to clean up New York. And I got to tell you, Andy, what do you think about what's happening in Washington, D.C.? Everybody's saying it's like night and day.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, as someone who spends a lot of time in D.C., have a place in D.C., I will tell you you know, I was saying the other day, the argument of Chuck Schumer telling everyone Washington, D.C. has never been safer. Well,
Crazy.
first of all, he gets driven around by Capitol Police who risk their lives. You know,
And here's a former
And he's-
police officer, detective, decorated,
and
here,
he's
sitting right next to you.
completely unappreciative of the work that they do. But more importantly, and I've said this time and time again, DC is very similar to the disaster that Kathy Hochul and Andrew Cuomo created here in New York, right?
Talking about cashless
Cashless
bail.
bail, criminal justice reform, and the idea that when people say, especially in places like DC and other places, well, crime is down. Well, crime is not down, first of all. And number two is the way your neighbors, your residents, your visitors feel should matter just as much.
It's
If
humiliating
you
when people
walk
come
through the
from out of
streets of a city and you are in fear, if you're constantly looking over your shoulder, if you're, thinking to yourself when you leave the house in the morning, I'm not going to wear that watch because I don't want to be a target or a yarmulke, then it's not safe. And secondly, because of criminal justice reform, there are so many people now. I mean, one of the things that are not reported the most is anti-Semitic attacks, but that is just part of it. There's so many crimes that are not reported. Why? Because people say, I'm going to call 911. Someone's going to take the report. And in many of the cases, as you know, with criminal justice reform, I mean, Kathy Hochul and Andrew Cuomo legitimately have given perpetrators the ability and the right to enter a crime scene, which could be your home, and view the crime scene. So now if you're a victim, you get victimized. Let's say that's not the case, that they're just investigating the crime. If they get caught, they're going to get released